Hi, this is Darren from ALO Upholstery and Interiors. Today I'm going to show you how to upholster this sofa bed. I'll be using this staple and this staple gun. Now I'll be taking out the back and working on the bottom base. I'll be using a double cord belt like this to staple on the front edge. Now I'm using 1/2 inch foam. This is the type of foam glue that I'm using. And this is the type of spray gun that I'm using. Now I'm using a thin layer of fiber. Now I'll be using a red fabric like this. Now I like to lock a few staples to see how it looks first, and then I'll staple it all down. For the wood area, I would like to cut in between the wood and then the letter V. Now I'm cutting right at the corner of the wood at a 45-degree angle, so the fabric goes from one side to the next. Once I'm done stapling the inner part, I'll be stapling the front, which makes it a lot easier to work. Now you want to pull it all the way to the back so it's nice and tight. Now once I'm done, I like to make sure the grain of the fabric is still running straight. Now I'm using 1/2 inch cardboard so it gives it a nice clean line to it when you pull the fabric down. So for the bottom band, the piping is already sewn on the fabric together. Now I'm using the cardboard as a guide of the height I want it at. Now using a 1/2 inch cardboard like this to staple all underneath it. So now I'll be using 1/2 inch foam. Now I'll be using a jute webbing like this and a webbing stretcher to put in the inside arm. Now I'm using thick fabric to staple on the inside arm. You want to also pull the fabric here tight as well. On the outside arm, I'll be putting lining as well. So now I'll be using 1/2 inch foam to glue on the outside arm and the inside arm. This is the type of foam saw that I'll be using to cut the foam. Now I'm cutting the foam for the top arm. So this will be 1 inch firm density foam that I'm using. Now I'm using a thin layer of fiber to put on the arm, so it gives it a nice soft feel to it. So the arm here has the welt already sewn on. So I'm cutting in between the wood, and then I'll be cutting the letter V and hiding it underneath. Now I'll be using a tacking strip like this to back tack it. Now once I'm done hammering that down, I'll be locking a few staples to see how I like it, and then I'll staple everything down. So yeah, I still want to make sure the line looks straight. Now for the back, I'll be stapling heavy duty fabric on it. Now I'm going to use 1/2 inch foam to glue it so it levels up with the wood area at the corner. Now I'm using 2-inch soft foam for the back. Now I'm just using 1-inch soft foam for the side. Now I'm using a thin layer of fiber. Now I like to staple a few staples on it first to see how everything looks. Now I'm using 1/2-inch foam. So now she'll be sewing the single cord to trim the outside back. Now when I'm cutting the cardboard, I like to cut it in a 45-degree angle like this. Now you want to make sure the end of the cardboard is lined up with the stitching. Now I'm using white lining. Now I'm using a thin layer of fiber. Now I'll be using a tacking strip like this. So I like to make sure the stitching of the welt is lined up with the side of the metal like this. I like to make sure it's poked right on top and one on the bottom, and make sure the grain of the fabric is still running straight. So once I'm done hammering down, I like to look at the grain and still make sure it's all running straight. And here's how the finished piece looks like. So thank you for watching, and if you like our video, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you, bye.